What crime have I been suspected of committing?
You have no brake lights.
Is that a crime, officer?
It is. Give me your license.
According to People versus Battle, traffic infractions are not crimes.
Your brake lights don't work.
Okay, according to People versus Battle, traffic infractions are not crimes. They're attempting to break my windows, and there is no crime.
Give me your license.
There has been no crime committed. According to People versus Battle, traffic infractions are not crimes. Please do not attempt to assault me. Damaging the property, and this isn't even my property. Please. Oh my God! Oh my God, I got glass in my eyes!
Sir, one of the cases that the California Court of Appeals, which was the very Court of Appeals that made the decision in the Hamilton decision in 1986, the same Court of Appeals ruled on the Salva case the following year. Now, the Salva case, actually the language I think that you find in Hamilton is that they found the Battle decision objectionable. That was their term. Now, the Battle decision is a brilliant piece. In fact, the appellate department of the Superior Court nailed it. They avoided a constitutional crisis based on their ruling. The Hamilton Court in 1986 came along and said they found the Battle decision objectionable. However, the following year, in 1987, the year after the Hamilton decision, the same Court of Appeals held infractions are not crimes, and the legislature never intended infractions to be crimes.
Okay, and in 30 years since then, the courts have consistently said that they are crimes. Your argument has never held up between Salva and 2016.
Yeah, what does that tell you about the courts?
That you're wrong, and you're interpreting the case law wrong.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, guess what? I'm okay with being wrong, because I know I'm not. And the way
okay, but
the
you
reason
being
I know
wrong
I'm not
people in
is
jail.
That's bullshit. You got to learn the law. I don't put people in jail. I don't prosecute people. I don't accuse people of crime. I don't make them go over to court. That's not what I do. So don't be laying anything off on me. I read the rules, and I know who's cheating.
So some additional background here. Rich Iverson is a guy who Angela Stark started promoting on her internet radio show, who had theories based on some case law from California that traffic infractions are not crimes. I've made several videos that explain why his theories are wrong, that he's taking the case law out of context. But they ignored it. They made several shows promoting his theories, advertising a show, asking people for donations. By the way, what people apparently are not aware of is that Iverson is a homeless dude living in California. So why these people are getting legal advice from a homeless dude is beyond me. And you know, we also dug up his court records from California. We showed that he's never won a court case. He's actually lost lawsuits against towing companies that towed his car. But this is how dangerous this shit is. This woman in Georgia got her windows busted out and arrested, car towed, because she listened to a fucking homeless dude on the other side of the country. She didn't do the homework to check if the shit he was saying was true or not. She didn't look up the case. She didn't look up what had happened in the 30 years since then. You know, and then these guys have the balls to say, "Oh, we're not putting anyone in jail." Bullshit. When you put out misinformation, people are going to act on it eventually, and it's going to cost people their property, their liberty, and their lives in some cases. You know, and I'm going to include a clip from a video that I had deleted, where I tried to explain the timelines of the Battle, Hamilton, and Salva cases, to try and explain some misinformation that Rich was relying on. just so you can get a sense of how fucking boring it is. I deleted it because it's a really fucking boring video, and it's a really boring fucking explanation. I didn't like the video, but just so you can get a sense of how fucking ridiculous, complicated it is to explain why a bullshit theory from homeless dude is wrong. It takes actual fucking effort to research and try to explain why some shit somebody said on the internet is wrong. These guys don't have to put any effort into coming up with this shit. They can say whatever the fuck they want. And then it takes hours and hours of research just to try and explain why it's wrong. It's an uphill battle. And, here Rich has gotten paid. He's walked off with the money and donations he got from saying this shit online. While this woman is sitting in jail, windows busted, car towed, now she's got hundreds of dollars, between towing expenses, court costs, and all that bullshit. Yeah, it's a fucking travesty. A discussion I had with Rich Iverson online last night, and I made this whole timeline to try and explain the situation because, the radio format really doesn't allow, a thorough discussion. I mean, yeah, to have a full discussion of these issues, you need to go and, take a few minutes or, 20, 15 minutes to read everything and get everything organized. And that, that's why these things don't work. Okay. Here's why Rich Iverson is wrong on the Sava case. Alright. Damn it. Alright. Just so we're clear on the timeline, Sava is in 1987. What Sava was asking was whether, if you're charged with an infraction, you get the full amount of rights that you're entitled to in situations of other crimes such as felonies and misdemeanors. Now, this is what Sava actually says. A person charged with an infraction shall not be entitled to a trial by jury. A person charged with an infraction shall not be entitled to have the public defender or other counsel appointed at public expense. This has never been within the province of the jury to determine whether an infraction has been committed, since an accused has neither statutory or constitutional right to trial of charged infractions. Now, Sava says this based on a 1975 case, People v. Battle. It reads, the court declares that an infraction is a petty offense. Historically, a defendant was not accorded the right to a jury in trials of petty offenses. Whether an infraction is characterized as a petty offense or a non-criminal offense, an appellate court, in the circumstances of the present case, should not bar prosecution for manslaughter by reason of an earlier plea of nolo contendere to an infraction. Now, this here is talking about, I'm simplifying here. This was basically a double jeopardy case, that they can't prosecute you for a manslaughter after a infraction case. So what they did was say that infraction is just a petty offense, so the double jeopardy rule doesn't apply. It does not mean that infractions are not crimes, and that and similarly, all Sava is saying is that you don't have a right to trial by jury in cases of infractions. It does not mean that it's not a crime. And meanwhile, we go back to 1986. We have the Hamilton case that says the court therefore finds an infraction constitutes a public offense within the meaning of Section 830. And this public offense thing, you can read it in Hamilton, but the question was whether or not you can be arrested by a cop for an infraction. And Hamilton here says that yes, you can be arrested by a cop for infraction. And this right here is why this situation is so complicated, because it's talking about the difference between a public offense and a non-public offense crimes. You can actually read the decision. It talks about how the statute is improperly written, blah blah. But okay, look, if a statute is improperly written, the interpretation that carries weight is what the courts decide. It's not, and what they've decided in order to resolve this conflict between public offenses and infractions and petty offenses is that well, basically what we have here. And in 2015, we finally have Glassner v. Smith. Speeding infractions in California are not crimes. So again, the one throwaway line in Sala that infractions are not crimes is irrelevant, because it's contradicted by pretty much everything, including the Hamilton case, which was a year before. And it was only speaking about they're not crimes for the purposes of do you have a right to a trial by jury, not for the purposes of can you be arrested by a cop for an infraction.
That's bullshit. You got to learn the law. I don't put people in jail. I don't prosecute people. I don't accuse people of crime. I don't make them go over to court. That's not what I do. So don't be laying anything off on me. I read the rules and I know who's cheating.